There was an act of vandalism which cut the internet to some communities in Tamaki Makaurau, Auckland, for several days, and people lost their minds. Joining me in the studio is Head of Digital at Rhema Media, Justin Smith. Kia ora, Justin.
Atamaria, what a predicament.
Wow. It's shockingly bad. And, hey, I happened to be in one of those neighbourhoods that had my internet cut. I thought, gosh, if I haven't paid my bill, what's the problem here? I thought, and then, of course, I blame my internet service provider of, something that's happened. It turned out that somebody had literally cut the cable, climbed up under a bridge, got some bolt cutters and cut through the fibre, and it was a bit of a tricky fix, allegedly.
How long were you out for? You were just telling me off air.
Well, 3 days. Wow. 3 days all up. And, hey, pretty serious for some people because there's schools in those communities. There's businesses that are reliant on FPOS. People aren't able to post memes for several days. One of my guests earlier today was in the situation when he had all these projects that he was working on. It's all on the cloud, isn't it? If it wasn't for being able to hotspot off your phone, people wouldn't have survived those 3 days, I tell you.
Potentially, yeah, and that's, kind of when you pitched the idea of this discussion to me on the back of, the unfortunate circumstances you were placed in, naturally, when a utility like the internet goes out, we go, well, we're used to that sort of thing because people suffer power cuts all the time.
Exactly.
And, typically the action, if, you're in a house that has no power as well, first we need to get some lighting. So either the torches come out or we were talking about, decorative candles that never get to see some action while
exactly.
They get the call
I know where the candles are. Can I find a box of matches?
Yeah.
That's a tricky one.
That's a tricky one, and the power situation, we can sort of deal with that. It always happens in the evening too, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. Well, maybe we don't notice in the day, to be fair.
True. But, the impact of these things is pretty timid. And when we talk about the internet going out, we sort of roll our eyes and go, well, okay, get over it. Go outside, touch some grass. You'll be fine. Mm-hmm. But the reality, much like with sometimes when power goes out in places, there's service providers or even people who are reliant on, that infrastructure, medical devices that require power, for example, and in the instance you just painted before, businesses or people who are working that are reliant on that connectivity to be able to do, the thing that they're called to do. It's actually quite a big deal.
I mean, it is a huge deal, and I suppose we do want to make the most of the technology we have. I mean, the thing which is surprising to me is it wasn't that long ago that these neighbourhoods got fibre.
Yeah,
so they all knew how to do life pre-fibre. It wasn't that long ago. It was in everybody's living memory. But then when the fibre is cut, we've kind of atrophied. We've lost the skills that we had before fibre.
Yes.
But I suppose, no one dies. We can find workarounds. We can, travel to a mate's place and watch Netflix there.
Yeah.
And it seemed to be a bigger deal in some people's minds than it actually was, perhaps.
Yeah, I think that's definitely the case. I mean, I'm certainly of the perception personally that it's a great opportunity potentially to explore those books that are getting dusty on the shelf in my house. And this has actually happened recently. My wife was working from home and said, disaster, the internet's gone out, and we did a bit of problem solving. Yep. Turns out the heater had just tripped the the power box.
Yeah.
But there was a significant amount of time where it was scramble, hold on a second, I'm going to call the internet service provider, check on Chorus, no, there's no outages in our area. Okay, look, I'm working from home, this is a disaster, I've got meetings, etc., etc. Truth be told, you're right. You could hotspot off the phone and there is sort of, backup or you actually just come into the office because we only live 10 minutes away, thankfully. There's ways you can work around it. And, the resilience, one of, humanity's greatest feats is the ability to adjust and chop and change with different circumstances. We can live in freezing cold environments as we can the desert.
Yeah. We
can deal with different environments unlike any other, animal on Earth. Yet when we lose the internet, especially the internet, just our reliance on it for entertainment and all these things, we just have this moment of freak out.
Yeah,
but,
exactly. I had a bit of time by myself. Everyone else in my household was out last night, and I was thinking, what should I do? I could watch some TV. Oh, no, it's a smart TV. I could do that. No. And went through the list of the different things that I could do. Couldn't do any of them. So I actually had an early night, and that wasn't a bad thing.
Yeah,
actually.
that's brilliant. I mean, I'm thinking of times in the past where I've lost internet connectivity, and the old Legos have come out.
Oh yeah, man.
Yeah, I pulled that one out from underneath the bed, and I think some Wood and Thomas, the tank engine trains, got a bit of action. And my kids are teenagers now, so it was a nostalgic moment. But it's not the end of the world for the majority of us, and actually, it's a fantastic opportunity sometimes to explore those things. I mean, when you're the example you were using before, we've lost the ability to do some of these fundamental foundational things because we live this incredibly privileged life of convenience. We've spoken about this a lot. Mm-hmm. The cost of that convenience is forgetting how to do some of the basic fundamentals. And so had a similar instance in the kitchen the other day where I lost a utensil that does a lot of heavy lifting for me. Yeah. And some ingredients for a recipe, and I had this big thing planned out in my mind, and it all fell to pieces. Mm-hmm. And I sort of had to go right back to the drawing board of, hold on a second, do I have to start milling now my own flour from these raw? How does that actually work before I can then start to make the bread to, in this day and age, you just buy the flour, you get the commercial yeast, and you're away laughing. But actually that artisanal journey and experience of making a loaf of sourdough out of, these basic ingredients is kind of lost and is a novelty now.
Yeah, well, you can't buy the flour in my neighbourhood because the FPOFs machine is out at the local supermarket. You have to drive another 7 minutes to go to a supermarket, which that's
tough.
Yeah, it is pretty tough. Fortunately, the internet is slowly being restored to these communities, but it's a wonderful lesson learned about, I suppose, resilience in a digital age. Justin, thanks so much for joining us again.
Anytime.
Hey, thanks very much for joining us in the Rhema studio. Thanks very much for watching the interview. It's kind of nice to have an audience, actually. And if you did like what you watched, then do give us a like, do give us the thumbs up. And if you'd like to see more interviews like that one, or perhaps even better, subscribe and those interviews will come straight to you. Don't forget to turn on your notifications, and we'll see you in the next one. Cheers.